everybody, Ricky here with Everyday Woodworking. Thank you so much for being here. Everyday Woodworking, your podcast home for tips, tricks, and information on how to make the most of your woodworking time and money every day. Again, thanks so much for being here. Welcome back to the show. If you're a regular listener, you know we are in the middle of this really fun series about the best places to buy bargain power tools. And if you haven't listened to earlier episodes or earlier installments, you'll want to go back to episodes 2 and 3. That'll kind of catch you up on what we're doing. One quick thing, just to let you know, whether you're watching the video here or whether you wind up listening to the audio of this in a podcast format, you'll know that I never do a podcast without a cup of coffee in my hand. It's just kind of my vice. But I try to give a shout out to our favorite people by using a coffee mug with their logo or favorite saying or something like that on it when I do the show. I'm using WCON 99.3 FM country music radio up in Cornelia, Georgia, which is close to us and one of my favorite country music radio stations. Thank you, WCON, for the mug. Again, my coffee tastes fantastic out of it. Hey, if you got a business and you want to send us a mug with your business logo on it, I would love to include it in this. So we'll put the address, our mailing address, in the show notes. That way you can send something to us along with a little bit about your business, and I'd be glad to work it in here. So, hey, again, thank you, WCON. Alrighty, our last show was all about garage sales. You may already know that, or as we here in the South, as I said before, we like to call them yard sales. Not that anybody's selling their yard, but I don't know why I feel the need to explain that. I know nobody's selling their yard, right? Anyway, we call them yard sales. The plan was to bridge that over into estate sales and private buys. I think we're going to change that up a little bit. Frankly, because estate sales, they are different from yard sales, yes, obviously, but they have so many similarities. All the points I had were just a rehash of last week's episode. So I think we're going to just take estate sales and we're just going to move that over and lump that in with garage sales, just for our purposes. And then we're just going to devote this episode completely to private buys, and that's going to be a lot. That's going to be a lot of information. So the first question I want to address is, what do I mean when I say a private buy? Well, a private buy is something when you buy something from an individual privately, obviously, versus buying something from a retail establishment, and that could be digital or physical. It could be an online thing or a brick and mortar store. And now I know with that definition, that could include a lot of things. It's a pretty broad definition. That could include yard sales also. But this is still a little different. Private buys are still kind of their own kind of animal. So when we pull that out into itself, that still leaves us this really big category of stuff aside from yard sales and garage sales. We've got like online marketplaces like Facebook and Craigslist. Plus we got traditional classified ads. And then of course we've got neighbors, friends, and family, which is a big part of this. A lot of online marketplaces are a mix of yard sales and retail buys. Some of the posts that you find there, they're even going to be put there by businesses, so there's some overlap going on. But you'll still need to treat these situations with a lot of the same yard sale mentality. You'll want to be informed. You'll want to inspect things. You'll want to make sure you ask for discounts. One of my biggest additional suggestions when you buy from an online marketplace is to do your final transaction in person. Obviously, when you pick your thing up, you're going to have to do it in person. Do it in a public place. And obviously, if you haven't thought about it, you never know what kind of freaky weirdos are going to be out there doing their thing, and the marketplace could be a great segue into them doing something nefarious. So I hate to say it, but in this world, you just can't be too safe. So when you get ready to pick your stuff up, make sure you do it in a public place. Don't go to their house if you can help it. Also, please don't pay for your stuff ahead of time. I know the temptation is for you to want to go ahead and pay for it, especially if you're going to Venmo or PayPal or something like that. Don't do it. And tell the people, if they ask you to pay, then say, when we get together and I take a look at it, then I'll Venmo you the money or whatever. And if they don't want to do that, just say, hey, thanks a lot. I'll look somewhere else. Just move on. Because if they don't want to do that, something's up. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna move on real quickly to classified ads. Kind of a dinosaur these days. They are still around though, and they do hold some potential treasures. So you've got like traditional. I'm talking about traditional classified ads in the back of the local newspaper. There's some classifieds that are online and stuff too, and they're great. And classified ads, whether they're in the paper or they're online, you still have to treat these with some of the same rules as like online marketplaces. Ask questions, meet publicly when you do your stuff, pay after you inspect, so on, yada yada, stuff like that. Usually my thinking is if someone posts something in the local paper, they're usually paying $5-10 or whatever to get it in there. If they have to pay to put it in there, kind of weeds out some of the riffraff. So it's not altogether a bad idea to take a look in the classified ads for some tools. But just still keep in mind, dummies can be really persistent. So don't just assume that everything's all above board just because they're paying a few dollars to put something in there. Finally, let's get to the biggie for me: neighbors, friends, family. In my opinion, neighbors, friends, and family are one of, if not the best source for great quality, great priced power tools. The key, though, and I'll say this, not trying to sound preachy, but the key to this is one simple thing that most of our crazy world does so little of anymore, and that's visit. Visit with each other. Visiting, talking, hanging out, chewing the fat, stopping by for no reason. Get to know people and let people get to know you. And not just your neighbors. Most of us, frankly, and I'm guilty too, we don't even visit our own family more than a handful of times a year, much less our friends. So that's a habit that used to be commonplace. It's something that used to be commonplace. We are so busy and so self-absorbed, we just don't visit with each other anymore. And I'm not talking about just seeing people at work or school or at Home Depot or church, or something like that. I'm talking about going to somebody's house, getting out of your truck, and spending some time talking and just visiting, having a conversation with somebody. You'll find out really quick when you start spending time with and getting social with your peers. You will find out amazingly they probably have some stuff that they don't want that you can use, and you probably have stuff that they could use that you don't want anymore. It's amazing. The neighbor that's like a weekend woodworker, they might have a drill press they don't even use anymore, and maybe you got a router you've outgrown. Wow, maybe y'all can trade those things out. Or maybe he'll just buy the router from you. Or maybe you can just buy that drill press for a song. Or who knows, he might just give it to you. But you'll never know if you never stop by. Now, I'm not talking about stopping by just to like network, build a network. I'm talking about the availability of tools and equipment you get being this beautiful byproduct of a web of relationships that go way beyond something like a saw. Having said all that, the other side of the coin is make sure you keep a few things in mind when Uncle Bob says, hey, I got a router I don't use anymore. Do you want it? Be careful. Number one, know what you need. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with a building full of stuff. Know what you need. Don't take home junk. Learn how to say no, and then still be informed about what a good deal is. Now, one thing I've learned over the years, my friend's generosity can quickly outweigh my wife's tolerance. And if you're married, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Guys, we love to get tools. Even if they're junk, we like it. We like to bring them home, and we have this vision in our mind that we're going to work on them, and we're going to fix them, we're going to make them like new. You're probably not going to do that. I will tinker with something a little bit occasionally, but if you're not careful, you're going to wind up being a catch-all for all your neighbor's junk or all Uncle Bob's broken tools and stuff like that. So make the best of what you get and know when to politely decline. That went fast. That went really fast. That was a lot of information, but I do hope that was helpful. Man, that went by really fast. Be sure, though, to join us on the next episode. We're going to continue this series on the best places to buy bargain tools. We're going to open up a controversial can of worms next week, and we're going to talk about buying your tools at Home Depot. And I know we do, and I know everybody complains about it, but it is a great place for some great deals if you know what to look for. So we're gonna hit on that as quickly as we possibly can next week. That is going to be a lot of fun. Thank you guys, as always, for hanging out with me for a few minutes. And again, I hope this was helpful, and I hope you'll join me again here on Everyday Woodworking. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, there are several things you can do. One, let us know. Your comments, your likes, more important than you could possibly imagine. Number two, leave us a great review, especially if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. A 5-star review on there, man, it does so much for our placement of our podcast. So that is so important. So please leave us a great review. And lastly, wherever you're listening, we would love it if you subscribe to our podcast and became a regular listener, and you got notifications about the new episodes as they come out. Also, if you're watching this here on YouTube, if you're watching this video now and you're watching this on YouTube, obviously we post a video of each podcast episode on our Apple Valley Farm YouTube channel. Apple Valley Farm is our woodworking business. So definitely check that out. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you're there. And finally, to learn more about us, you can check out show notes and head over to applevalleyfarmga.com. That's our website for our woodworking thing. You can look at our store and our woodworking projects and all kinds of things like that. Okay. That is it. Thank you guys again so much. I hope you have a great day. And I hope to see you next time right here on Everyday Woodworking.